Horizon Forbidden West is absolutely blowing me away. I'm loving this game. I've maybe played, I don't know, 8 hours-ish, and I wanted to give my thoughts before I got too deep into it, like a spoiler-free sort of thoughts, if you will, because I know that there's no chance of me getting a review out at any point in which it's relevant, because this game is going to consume my life. But I wanted to tell you about the game, you know, from my perspective, and how I'm finding it, and like I said, it's completely blowing me away. Horizon Forbidden West is, so far, brilliant, and I'm loving it. The first thing I wanted to talk about was Horizon Forbidden West is built off the back of Zero Dawn. It's a very similar game, it plays very similar, but obviously refined for the good old PS5, and I've noticed that while it feels weightier, and you know, and a little bit more modern in its controls, for the most part it's not dissimilar, and this is a good thing because it sets itself apart and it shows you the differences in the aesthetic, in improvements. There have been major improvements in this game over Zero Dawn. For example, facial animations. Sometimes in Zero Dawn they can look a little bit weird and beards could look a little bit funny, but in Forbidden West the faces, I can't fault them. They look great. They look almost realistic, because they obviously look like game characters, but they move in an authentic way, or at least a more authentic way. And then there's cutscenes as well. One of my big concerns with Zero Dawn, well, not concerns, but one of my big criticisms was the amount of cutscenes that just boiled down to over-the-shoulder shots in dialogue. In Forbidden West, there's a lot more to it, and I've been really enjoying that aspect as well, because now I know that there's no part of this game that's going to dull my brain, or there's nothing that I think I've seen before, or nothing I can't tell apart from the next encounter or experience, and I think that's really good. Also, there's the carryover of characters as well. That's another big positive. The continued world building is another thing that Horizon Forbidden West absolutely boxes off pretty early on. You get a continuation of a story rather than just like a new one, and I think that's pretty good in the sense that there is a story left to be told here, and there is more to it in Aloy's narrative, and it isn't just she saved the world, then she disappeared, and now she's doing something off here. No, she saved the world for the time being. However, there is still more to this story. There is still more going on in the end of the day. And there's a nice carryover of characters from the last game. You know, there was a little bit of a moment in like a hub area of Meridian where you could speak with everybody that you helped throughout Zero Dawn, and I thought that was really good, because it gave you that little bit of emotional attachment to these characters that you invested time into helping in Zero Dawn before you went off into the Forbidden West, and I really like that. Then you've got the return of Erend and Val, who sort of keep showing up, which I really like as well, and because obviously now they're sort of more aware of Aloy's why Aloy's doing what she's doing, in the sense that Val got the focus pretty early on in the story, and so he's being enlightened, and that's an interesting dynamic to experience. And Erend, and it's nice to see that those two have a bit of charisma as well when they're together, even though I've only really seen that happen a couple of times because I'm still early in the game. Aloy's character is still Aloy, you know, it works. We get to see how that continues, and the world building from the previous game hasn't been thrown away, is the main point. It's still there, and that I like. With a new franchise, you've got to do a lot of work for the world building. When you're continuing a franchise, you've just got, I suppose what you've got to do is you've got to fill in the gaps a bit, and that's not as big of a task, but at the same time it can be, because you've also got to make sure that doesn't tread on the toes of what you've already established. And Horizon Forbidden West does that really well. There are some points from Zero Dawn that you'd find in passing lore that are now major relevant plot points in Forbidden West, so I understand a lot. A criticism I saw on Twitter where somebody was like, I played Zero Dawn, and I've gone into Forbidden West, and I feel like I don't understand it because I feel like I haven't played Zero Dawn, but I have. And I feel like that sums it up pretty well. I think it was Jas, one of the moderators for the Four Pillars Discord, who tweeted that. And yeah, no, I absolutely see where that's coming from, in the sense that there are some details that are quite obscure in Zero Dawn, but they are there, that are now major plot points going into Forbidden West. But on the flip side, there's also a positive to that. It's using the world building to tell the story going forward. If you didn't come across it, then fair enough. I'm sure the game's going to explain it away later on in its own narrative, and it won't make too much of a difference. But There definitely feels like there is a blank there, but there isn't, and I think that can be both good and bad. But in the case of Forbidden West, I think it doesn't necessarily matter just yet because I don't know the full extent of the narrative. But I think so far, because I picked up on these pieces of information as they were passed on to me, that for me it makes sense, and I've been really enjoying the story as a result of that. On the visual front, fuck, I can't even begin to tell you how great this game looks. Obviously, I've been playing on performance mode because as much as a nice resolution is, I only have a 1080p display, so 60 FPS really does sort me out. I really prefer that, and I've been really enjoying playing the game at 60 frames while also having these amazing visuals and thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, this is on a console, or this is a game in general, you know, like this is a game, this is what I'm doing. I mean, there was one point where I was looking at a fucking tent and I was impressed by the visuals. I mean, I was like, I'm staring at a tent and I'm impressed by this. Yeah, it's just really nice looking world, and my eye is really pink. I really do apologize. I don't know what's happened to it there, but you know, weird. The machines, they can be quite fun to take down. I think Forbidden West has almost refined it in some ways. Some machines don't feel like they're as much of an unnecessary slog. It feels like it's easier to hit specific components off of them, and the game balances this out by, if you need that specific component intact, then you're going to have to knock it off the machine before you take the machine down. And I like that as well. I feel like that sort of balances the challenge a bit, so you're not aiming for specific parts with as much difficulty, but at the same time you've got to get those specific parts off if you need them specifically intact, and you want that surefire way to get them. And I think that's a nice balance. As far as the enemy archetypes are that I've encountered, I've fought a giant tortoise. That was fun. Yeah, I love giant tortoises. I enjoyed the giant tortoise. I enjoyed fighting the snake at the very beginning of the game. If there's one thing I have noticed, watchers have been replaced. They're no longer like a velociraptor robot. They're more like a meerkat. And I saw a review that took issue with that for some reason. But for me, these burrower machines, they're just machines, you know. It's like, they're fine, you know. They're just there to kill, and it's fun to do so. And then obviously there are other archetypes that show up quite frequently, and they can be quite fun as well. Another improvement I've noticed has been the leveling. The leveling is now a little bit more refined. There are different skill trees as opposed to like just little skill drop downs all on one menu. There are now complete skill trees for like every different type of skill, whether it be warrior, hunter, stealth, which is infiltrator, or whatever. And they all work nicely because it's just a much easier to figure out system because it's not all on one screen. Even if Zero Dawn had it easy enough, I feel like this is an easier way to figure out the system while also fleshing it out a bit more, because there's more to it and you get skill points a lot, so it's not like you're going to look at it and be like, Jesus Christ, I have a long way to go for too long, because you get skill points for completing side missions, for leveling up. Sometimes you get 2 skill points in one go depending on what you're doing. And all in all, it really does add up that the skill points aren't just unlocked by leveling. It just works nicer, and I feel like it's you may get skill points before you level up, and it gives you that reason to keep going as far as the leveling up system is concerned, because it's rewarding regardless. And leveling up again is nice and balanced. It doesn't take too long to get to the next level. In a similar sense to Zero Dawn, I noticed the beginning was a lot slower, but that's because it was like a slow-paced beginning, and that was perfectly fine. But I have noticed that, for the most part, the leveling is nice and smooth and easy, and, you know, it sort of warps into the storytelling, so you get perks through that. You can get perks through side content. You can also just get perks through leveling, like the traditional way, if you will. Gameplay-wise, there have been some improvements. Obviously, the parkour sort of system, or the climbing system, shall we say, is enhanced by like the grapple thing. I forget what it's called, but there's a grapple thing, and it really does help. It's useful. It's not too overpowered. You can only really use it on specific things, but when it does come up, it is quite nice, and it really does keep with the flow of the gameplay. And then you've got the glider, which you can just activate anywhere, if you want to use that, and that to me is also really fun to use, because it's a new feature for this form of traversal. And another extension to the traversal would be the underwater segments. Now, so far, the underwater segments have been pretty tame. There's not been much going on with them. There has been a moment where I've just been underwater for a long time, but it was only really to move through an area. But there is stuff down there. That's the positive. There's like loot, there's things to see. You know, it's not like a barren underwater area with a little bit of treasure here and there. No, it's a properly like designed area, more often than not. And there's always something down there to find, which makes it worth doing even when exploring. And I like that. I like that a lot, because it's Horizon Zero Dawn but expanded almost. It's enhanced. It's Horizon Zero Dawn but with improvements, and that's what this sequel needed to be. So far for me, that's been really worthwhile, and it's been good to be able to play this game and go, yeah, no, this is kind of what I wanted from Horizon Forbidden West. And yeah, another aspect of the gameplay that I've been really loving the improvements to is the melee combat. Now in Zero Dawn, the melee combat, it wasn't that it needed to be better. It probably should have been. But in Zero Dawn, the melee combat was only really there to whack things if you got the chance to. In Forbidden West, it feels more like its own sort of system, if you will. It doesn't feel... It's not too in-depth, it's not too crazy, but it feels smoother in the sense that it feels like, instead of just being a last-ditch in combat, it feels like an avenue for combat. It feels like something you can use a lot in combat, especially against human enemy archetypes, but also against machines if you can time it right. And there's a bit more of a mixture of things you can do. Like, for example, you can charge your power attack and do like a charged attack, which is quite useful. The fast melee attacks, they're quicker. There are perks for it that allow you to do more in melee combat, and it just feels more like a mechanic in its own right, rather than just an extension of the overall combat, which mostly consists of projectile-based combat, which isn't dissimilar in Forbidden West either. Horizon Forbidden West does rely a lot on the groundwork of Zero Dawn with regards to the fact that it's still going to be archery based, it's still going to be projectile based, and it should be. But there is now this avenue for combat that isn't just an extension to it, which I think is brilliant. As for stealth, I've been messing around a little bit with that. I've been having fun with it. There's not really much to tell with regards to it, I will not lie, but it's good and it's there. So overall in my 8 hours, I've been having a lot of fun. I've been having an absolute shitload of fun. Horizon Forbidden West is blowing me away because it builds on what Zero Dawn did really well, and it takes it and it sees where it can go with it. It sees how much further it can go with this. It really does work on adapting these. It's got more adapted versions of what Zero Dawn did with regards to how it plays and how it tells its world building story, because it builds off the back of what we found in Zero Dawn. There are some things that are new, there are some things that aren't. There are some things that are kind of embedded in things that you'd find in Zero Dawn but weren't necessarily relevant at the time, but now they sort of are. And it's good to see that actually had a point. It was like it was setting this up. And there's definitely been a couple of holy fuck moments for me where I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's where they were going. It also plays really good, as we've gone over. The haptic feedback on the PS5 controller has been it's always been a bit weird to me, in the sense that I don't like when there's resistance in the triggers. I really don't. I don't know what it is about it. I like the light feeling of it, but I haven't really noticed too much of that. For me, the controller just vibrates a lot, and that's okay. That's okay by my standards. I've been really enjoying Forbidden West. Plays good, looks good, has great world building, continuation of what we've already seen in Zero Dawn. That's exactly what we wanted, and that's blowing me away because this game is fucking sick, and I just can't wait to play more of it after I've edited this together and banged it up. I streamed it last night for about 4 hours over on Twitch, and I don't regret a single second of it. But no, that's just sort of like a thoughts thing so far for how I've been receiving Horizon Forbidden West. Sorry, my brain's a little bit of a fart. Hopefully, when I've done like a proper playthrough, I can get around to a full shebang review. I think that'll be kind of clever, right? So, thank you all for watching this video. I really hope that you've enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your friends and all that wonderful stuff. That would be super fantastic. And with any luck, I'll be seeing you all very soon with another video at some point. But until next time, take care.